Peterson sitting in. We got a lot of things to talk about. You wanted to bring this up, and it was a Chris Thomason piece. Nice job in the Denver Gazette from our guy Chris Thomason about how the Broncos are deciding in-house not to engage in any contract extension talks with their current players until after the draft. So we're looking at guys like Nick Bonito and Courtland Sutton, Zach Allen. Will, you think this is a good strategy?
No. If I'm Nick Bonito or Zach Allen, I'm a little offended by this, to be honest with you. Because by punting this until after the draft, saying, we'll talk in a month, you're telling them, well, we want to see who we take to see if we take someone better than you. And if I'm Zach Allen or Nick Bonito, I'm going, you're not taking anyone better than me. I don't even care if you take an edge or a defensive lineman at 20. They're not better than me. Both Allen and Bonito had monster seasons a year ago and deserve extensions. If I'm those two, I'm ticked off as I wake up on this Thursday morning. Pay me my money and pay me my money now. Courtland Sutton, maybe perhaps a little different conversation because we both agree they could go wide receiver at 20. But specifically Bonito and Allen, I am balking at this Broncos move that they don't want to talk to him about an extension for another month.
But is it reason to be? That's a little bit strong, isn't it? To say that if I'm these guys, I would be insulted. The Broncos have shown over the last couple of years a willingness to go out and get ahead of deals and reward guys.
I think I said
with
offended, not insulted.
Okay, offended, insulted. Tomato.
Which one's a stronger word?
I mean, would I rather be offended or insulted?
I'd rather be offended. Regardless.
Yeah.
Haven't Allen and Bonito earned those contract extensions now? Like, it doesn't, even if you take an edge at 20, you should still pay Nick Bonito. Mm-hmm. We were talking about him being the defensive player of the year as late as week 13, week 14?
Yep.
He scored twice on defense for you this year. Zach Allen just looks like a monster, unblockable up front. There is nothing they can do in the draft that is going to change the mind they should pay both those players. So why not just do it now? Why tell their agents, yeah, we'll talk to you later?
Well, yeah, but it is good business to just let's see what happens in the final days of free agency. Let's see what happens in the draft. We're not exactly able to predict what's going to happen in the draft. Just bear with us and let us get through the draft. By the way, we're really fixated on the draft right now. Let's do this. I don't think – look, the Broncos have not created a reputation like they're the Cincinnati Bengals, okay?
No, definitely
Or
not.
the Dallas Cowboys, where it's just drag your feet when it comes to getting key players signed. They've already shown that they're willing to hand out deals before deals are ready to run out. I'm quite confident. I know you're trying to make this into a thing. I respect that. Wedge driving.
I'm not trying to make it into a thing. I'm just telling you they should pay him.
Game recognizes game, but I think you're making too big of a deal about not doing deals until after the draft. If we get to what? I mean, honestly, to me, when would you say, okay, now they're really making a mistake? To me, it's not until the start of training camp. So we got till late July, as far as I'm concerned.
So you're ready for another toxic offseason.
What do you mean toxic?
Courtland Sutton.
Oh,
that was toxic.
That wasn't toxic.
Oh, when he's tweeting Will Smith gifs about I'm all alone. He's saying goodbye to Broncos country on Instagram. He's taking the Broncos out of his bio. He's having press conferences where he's all grumpy and sad, and he only shows up because it's mandatory so he doesn't get fined. If you thought Sutton was bad last year, what's Sutton going to be like this year, Mike?
That wasn't toxic because all of us, as he was doing that, we were sitting back here like parents listening to their children throw a temper tantrum, knowing full well that eventually they're going to cry themselves to sleep or they're going to cry themselves to the point where they cry themselves out of the tantrum. Nobody took Courtland Sutton's threats seriously. We all understood it was a guy who had very few weapons at his disposal to come out and really threaten or hold out. He was basically saying, I need a raise or I'm going to stay away. And meanwhile, the Broncos and all of us are like, yeah, he'll be back for training camp. He's not going to sit out. He has no other recourse. He's going to want to get his money. No big deal. The Broncos hold all the power. The Broncos hold all the cards. But if they want to let Courtland Sutton, throw a little tantrum, fine, so he can feel like he's standing up for himself. But none of that. I never felt that was toxic. I never felt that he was going anywhere. And then what ended up happening once the season started? He was a model citizen to the point where when the season ended, we're raving about the fact that, wow, remember that Saints game where he got no catches and no targets and didn't say a peep? Wow, can you imagine how many receivers around the NFL wouldn't act that same way? Boy, Courtland Sutton's a good pro. So toxic, that's a little bit hyperbolic on your part. It wasn't toxic last
Okay,
year.
but Mike, he had 2 years left on his deal at that point, and he still stomped his feet. And as you said, threw a temper tantrum. That was just to get incentives. This year, Mike, with 1 year left, he doesn't want incentives. He wants an entire new deal. What gifts he tweeting this time around? That's what I'm getting at. If you thought last year was a tantrum, what's this year going to be?
And my reaction is, so what? He as long as the team has the power, as long as the team holds the cards, and as long as we know that for all their bluster and complaining, that when it comes down to it, we know they're going to put their head down and come back to work because they have no other choice, then I'm not going to sweat it out. Now that's not me saying that, hey, don't even think about giving these guys a contract. They're under contract and make them play out their contract. No, I understand the idea of getting ahead of the market and make sure you're not paying guys simply responding to the way the market is going, but try to get out ahead of that. I understand that it's good business, and that's why I think it is good business to do a deal with Zach Allen. It is good business to do a deal with Nick Bonito. It is good business to do a deal with Courtland Sutton. I just don't think that it's a pressing matter right now. It won't be a pressing matter, honestly, until maybe midway through training camp.
Okay, I just think this message sends to those players, we think we're going to get better in the draft. And I think those players are thinking, I'm better than anyone you're taking in the draft. I just think it sends a weird message to those three guys. That's all I'm getting at.
Okay. And if the Broncos of recent front office ownership vintage had started to develop a Bengals-like or Cowboys-like reputation when it comes to dragging their feet on giving out new contracts, that'd be one thing. This team hasn't done it, right? Who have they re-upped with early? Quinn Miners? PS2? Who else am I thinking about that they
got Bowlesy done.
They got Bowlesy done?
Yep.
So this has actually been a front office ownership group that has shown in the last couple of years they're willing to do deals earlier. So if I'm Bonito, Allen, Sutton, I wouldn't be too worried.
Okay.
But Will Peterson's worried.
I'm not worried.
Will's worried.
I'm just saying.
Toxic. You said toxic.
No, I said the way Courtland Sutton behaved on social media last year was a bit toxic.
Big deal.
That's all I said.
Trust me. When the day comes that you're a parent, and that day will come eventually, you will remember this conversation one day when you have a child that is throwing a temper tantrum, and you're just going to think to yourself, or you'll turn to your wife and say, "Don't worry, this thing is going to end very soon." And they'll be asleep in about 15 minutes.
Okay, but there's a difference between a 3-year-old and a 30-year-old.
When it comes to professional athletes, I'm not so sure if there's much of a difference between a 3-year-old and a 30-year-old, especially wide receivers. Was that a shot? Was that unnecessary? Was that too much? Was that too much comparing a 3-year-old to a wide receiver in the NFL? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Hey, be listening. We're going to be calling out another name for your chance to get